Hello, if you're watching this video, that means that you are now looking to set the best goals for 2023. And I'm going to be giving you a tactic that works for me and has worked for me every single year on how I achieve my goals and exactly what to do. So I'm sure you've heard a lot of different people are going through New Year's resolutions. It's a new year, it's time to kind of do something new, it's time to get yourself to the next level. Now, what usually happens is they'll write it down, but most people won't even write down their New Year's resolutions. I'm sure if you ask somebody what their New Year's resolution is, they probably spent maybe 5 minutes actually thinking about it. So the first thing that you actually have to do is write it down on paper. Most people have never written down any goals on paper itself. Now, I don't talk about actual cell phones, I don't talk about tablets or anything like that. Get a paper and a pencil, old school, and start writing that stuff down. There's something special about writing something into existence that wasn't there before, and you will continue to kind of see it. You're gonna think it's kind of foo-foo in the beginning. I thought it was too, but it does amazing things. So spend some time on knowing exactly what you want to accomplish. If you already know what you want to accomplish, that's an amazing thing. Now, there are a section of you watching here right now that you're just like, hey John, I really don't know what my goals should be. I mean, what should I go after? Everything seems so far away. And those are the goals you should set. One of my first goals when I started doing this exercise was I want to make $1 million in sales. And I felt stupid for writing that goal down. I had no idea how that was going to happen. Another one of my goals that day was going to be I want to own an Aston Martin. And again, I felt stupid for actually even thinking about that because I had no idea how that was going to happen. But I learned from this guy, Grant Cardone. He's one of my mentors and coaches. And he actually has a system of how to handle your goals and your dreams and how to write down your goals every day. And I'll share what I learned from him on this video as well. But before we get into that part, you have to understand, okay, how to actually set your goals. So there's two kind of ways to do it. Way number one is going to be, okay, you have an overall goal for your life. You have a picture of what your life is going to look like. Maybe by the time you're 50 years old, you want to have this boat, you want to have this car, you want to live this lifestyle. Maybe by the time you're able to retire, you want to be able to live on X amount of dollars, right? So if you want to start off way out there, then that's a way to kind of say, okay, this is what my life is going to look like. Now, how do I reverse engineer that and set my goals up for what has to happen this year in order for me to get to that goal that year? Now, that's not the kind of way that I kind of set my goals. I kind of set my goals, okay, what have I done so far? Now, what would be kind of crazy to get going? Now, this is a balance, right? If the most money you've ever made is $100,000 so far, probably going for that $10 million number on the right off the bat is probably not the smartest thing, simply because you don't know what any of those incremental values actually look like, right? So that being said, if you're making $100,000 a year now, why not go for 10x that? Go for $1 million, right? And then you're gonna 10x everything else to see what is possible. That's what Mr. 10x would advise you to do, and that's what I did, and that's what actually kind of helps out. I kind of get into my head a little bit more, but what actually happens is when you start writing these things down, you start actually committing to them, crazy things actually do start to happen. Now, you don't want to jump too far crazy, because if it's too crazy, you're not even going to think it's possible. You want to be just where it's possible, somebody else has done it, but you don't really know how. If you know how to hit your goals, those goals are way too small. So if all of a sudden you're making $100,000 and you want to make $120,000 a year next year, you probably know exactly how to do it, and that's probably not a great goal for you to do. One of the reasons that people do not hit their goals is simply because it's not going to change their life, right? So if you're making $100,000 a year and you're going to 120, your life might not change that much, right? But if you're going from $100,000 a year to $1 million, whoa, now that's a whole different address, that's a whole different hemisphere, right? So once you get clear on your goals, and I gave you kind of two frameworks on how to create your goals for 2023, now it's about making sure that you stay up to date with your goals itself. Most people actually just write their goals down once, if they write it down at all, and then they'll think about it periodically throughout the year. What I want you to do is something intentionally. Now, and when it comes to business, anything that you measure will improve. So if you want more money, just look at your money more, and things are going to happen. If you want to lose weight, it has been proven, if all you do and nothing else, you just look at the scale every single day and you look at that number, eventually you will lose weight just by measuring it daily. So the same thing is going to happen with our goals, but we're not going to measure it. We're just going to continue to remind ourselves about what the goals actually are. So there's a few different steps here. Step number one, make sure you do it consistently every single day. Sounds super simple, but tried to have the discipline to do it. It took me a lot of false starts to actually get going, and now I actually do it every single day, twice a day. Once in the morning, once at night. So that's step number 2 is going to be how you actually write down the goal. When you write down the goal, you have to do it as if you've already done it so far, right? So for instance, say this is 2023 and one of your goals is to make $1 million in sales. You want to be super specific. You want to make $1 million in sales, not just $1 million, but $1 million in sales. Do you want to make $1 million in profit? What's going on? So what you're going to write down is, I made $1 million in sales in 2023. That's what you'd write down, right? And maybe you want to write down a profit number. I profited $250,000 in 2023, whatever that number is to you, right? So what actually wound up happening, I believe it was 2018, 2019, I wound up writing these goals down. And I did it every day. 2 of those goals was I made $1 million in sales. Another one of those goals were I own an Aston Martin. Now the thing I want to let you know is it's not easy, because what's actually going to be happening, I think it happened to me for at least for the first 2 months. Every time I wrote something down, I felt sick to my stomach because I felt like I was lying to myself. Like, I'm a person with integrity, and when I'm telling myself I did something and I didn't do it, it definitely felt hard for me to actually just write that stuff down. But I stayed committed to the program, I stayed committed to the process, and when I was doing it, I had no idea how it was going to happen. So, long story short, as I was writing down, I own an Aston Martin every day in the morning, I own an Aston Martin every day at night, I own an Aston Martin every day in the morning, I own an Aston Martin every day at night, then I started that in January 1st. By that September, I owned this Aston Martin right over here. Now, I paid a crazy amount of money for this car. By crazy, I mean super cheap. You probably think that I probably spent a couple $100,000 on this car. I probably spent less than your Toyota outside. And that would be a video for another video on how I actually paid $35,000 to own this Aston Martin right over here. But the other thing that actually happened is we actually wound up making over $1 million in sales that year as well. And we've grown the company ever since, right? So it's super, super cool on how it happened. Now in the beginning, I had no idea why this was happening, but what wound up happening was I started doing some research, I started learning, and I started learning more about, hey, is this foo-foo stuff? Is this like law of attraction things, which I do believe in, or is there actually some science behind it? And it's a great mixture of both, because one, it's law of attraction, because what you believe, what law of attraction means is whatever you put out there is what's going to come back. Now you can't just dream for it and do nothing, because now you're not proving to anybody or to the universe that you truly want it. Because if you're just dreaming about it and you're not doing anything about it, no one's going to reward you with that. But the other side is going to be actual scientific. There's a piece of your brain called the reticular activating system. I think that's the word. I'm not a scientist, but let's call it RAS for short. And that piece of your brain only has one goal. That goal is to make sure you focus on what's important to you. That's the same piece of your brain that stays focused on survival, right? So when you were a caveman, you had to focus on, hey, where's that saber-toothed tiger going? Whatever you're truly focused on, that's where energy goes, and that's what starts to improve, just like I said before. So what winds up happening is, you start writing down these goals every day, you start training your brain and your subconscious what's actually important to you. So you're actually going to start seeing things that pop up as opportunities that's going to help you get your goals, because you're training your brain to see what's important. As a simple example, if you ever had a new car and all of a sudden you start driving that car around and now everyone has the same car as you. Before you had the car, you could never saw that car before, but now all of a sudden everyone has the same exact car. Why is that? Because that car became important to you because you took actions towards it. And that's why those cars were there the whole time, but you just became more focused in it, right? Or if you are really into some type of game or sport or anything like that, and you're at you're eating dinner at a restaurant, and all of a sudden, 3 tables down, somebody's speaking your language on that sport or your activity. You can actually hear everything that person's saying 3 tables down in a noisy restaurant because your brain told you that's important to you. So that's all this is. You're actually reprogramming your brain to tell you what's important to you. So now things that were there the whole time that you could not see, you become able to see, and you're able to do actions towards it to actually change your life towards those things as well, right? So those are the main 3 steps to actually change your life in 2023. It all starts with your goal. You're going to make sure that you actually spend time to think about it. You're going to make sure that you write it down on paper, and you're going to do it daily, twice a day. And make sure that if you know how to accomplish this goal, that goal probably a little bit too small, stretch yourself a little bit more. I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but make sure you actually get things going. Say worst case scenario, you're making $100,000 a year now, and you want to make $1 million a year next year, and all of a sudden you get to 750,000 at the end of the year. Hey, you failed at your goal, but you made a lot more money than what you made before. So I hope that this information definitely did help you out. Make sure you comment below. Let us know what some of your crazy goals are. If you need help with this, definitely comment below. Maybe we'll do another video just on this subject right over here. And I'll see you on the next video. Let's get you to your success. Let's get you to your freedom. And this channel is definitely going to give you the knowledge and skill set that you need to get yourself there. Thanks and have a fantastic day.